And welcome back to the Football Terrace. I'm Terry Flewers. I hope you're all doing wonderfully well today. Do us a big favor, hit the like button, share button, retweet button. Really important to us here at the Football Terrace that you do that. It truly, truly is. Cannot tell you how much us independent content creators need it. We're here to talk Jadon Sancho. It's been trending on social media for a day or so now, but reportedly Man United have agreed a fee of 60 million euros, with 60 million additional to be paid in installments over the length of the contract. We have the Guardian writer himself here to talk us through the tweet that he put out, the information that he has received, and then, of course, we'll speak about Jadon Sancho on the whole and what he will bring to Man United in the Premier League. Daniel, welcome to the Football Terrace.
Hello.
How are you? Are you good? You well?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I can't complain. Like, lockdown's nicely coming to an end now, and football's been back, and Euros, the European tournaments, very strange European tournaments are about to kick off, but I'm excited about that. And of course, the FA Cup final. But we do here at the Football Terrace, we absolutely love the transfer rumors. It's what my channel is just built on. We absolutely love it. And your tweet got us very, very excited the other day. So I'll hand over to you in terms of that. What is it you've been told, and what is it you know about Sancho to Manchester United?
Well, through the course of the season, I've been constantly told that Sancho wants to come to United. He wouldn't come if United didn't make the Champions League, but otherwise he would. The other clubs who were interested were Real Madrid and Liverpool, but I guess neither of those two have the money to make it happen. And I think that ultimately Sancho probably wants to be back in England. And this has nothing to do with any piece of information I've heard. I just remember hearing an interview with him before Spurs played Dortmund at Wembley earlier in the season, and it sounded a lot like he wanted to be playing in England again. So what I was told yesterday is that the deal's close, that United are going to pay 60 million euros up front, and then another 60 million euros over the course of the time, I guess, over the course of the contract that they give him. And the clubs were negotiating the structure of that at the moment. But I think it's one of those deals that you can see why it will happen, in that Sancho probably wants to play for United. I think that is quite clear from what I've been told. Obviously, I might be wrong. And when you hear these things and you put them out there, I would never put them out there if I wasn't absolutely certain that I'd heard that the source I'd heard it from was rock solid. And I put it in a thread actually on Twitter of other things I've put out there that, again, I've only put out there because I know that they're true. But something's true today or yesterday might not be true in a few days' time, because things change. And maybe Sancho will change his mind. Maybe they won't be able to agree the rest of the deal, although I'd be surprised. Or something will happen, who knows? So things do change, but I'd be pretty surprised if Sancho wasn't a United player, and probably quite soon.
Yeah, I understand. I've had this conversation many times with viewers. They always want to. I always remember, again, in my opinion, not a great newspaper, not a great journalist over at the Sun, Neil Custis. But I remember him getting absolute pelters from people because he said United tried to sign Neymar, and everyone said, "Why would you lie? Why would you make it up? You're absolutely bullshitting." Blah blah blah. And then, about like 9 months later, Neymar revealed that it was true. And there was almost this element of, like, generally speaking, some deals, you kind of feel like, well, unless he just woke up in the morning and felt like, I'm just going to completely make something up, there's nearly always an air of, like, it's been fed into you by somebody as an example. So no, I totally get that. And from your point of view, you were kind of, people made me aware of you, and a lot of people that sent me the direct message of your tweet were like, listen, this guy's hit rate is amazing. He only tweets things on his tweet when it's incredible. So, which is good. You know, they're not comparing you to the Metro or Gold.com, literally print everything.
I guess the way it works is that, yeah, like, someone will give someone a piece of information, and it's extremely unlikely that the writer will have made it up. That, I would say, of all the options, when someone tweets or writes a story with a piece of information in it, the writer having made it up is the last thing is the last likelihood. I'm sure it's happened in the past, because lots of other more ridiculous things have happened in the past, but that is unlikely. But what sometimes happens is they might be briefed by someone with an angle. So an agent might tell a journalist something because they're trying to arrange a better contract or a move for their client, or a club might brief a journalist because they want it to seem like they're trying to buy a player who they've got no chance of buying, or seem like they're doing their job, or whatever it might be. So there'll always be angles. I and sometimes you get a piece of information from someone who just happens to know that piece of information, and they have no angle other than the fact that it's a piece of information, and they tell you, and then they allow you to publish it, which is what happened to me. So that's what I did. And the person that told me doesn't have an angle, and so I felt confident to put it out there. So I did, and it might not happen, in which case, and I actually usually put a disclaimer when I tweet this saying, I was told, I felt like it was right at the time, which is why it's out there, and if it's wrong, none of us are going to die, although we're all dying. And ultimately, that's how you need to look at those things, that it's a football transfer. So you might be right, you might be wrong, but your intentions in putting it out there are acceptable, and you wouldn't have put it out there if you weren't banking on it.
And I agree. And look, from someone like I come from a football finance background myself, and the way you're talking about the deal being structured financially makes a lot more sense than 99% of the other sort of journalistic reports I see, because it's very unlikely that the full amount is going to be paid up front. That's rare in any case that gets done. But of course, a fairly sizable deposit up front, being half of it in this case, is going to be plausible. And you look at the Sancho situation. Dortmund want to sell, and you keep getting these reports. They're not under any pressure. Well, they kind of are, because he goes into the last year of his contract next summer, and we all know that in the last year of your contract, your valuation decreases fairly rapidly, because you only have to wait a further 6 months, and teams can offer your player a contract without even gaining your permission. So Dortmund know they're moving into those murky waters of losing valuation in him. At the same time, Man United have got to strike while the iron is hot, because at the moment, City ain't coming in for him. They just signed Torres. Chelsea are too stacked for him. Arsenal can't afford him. Tottenham can't afford him. And Liverpool are in that sort of position of, I think they can afford it, but you've got Mane and Mo Salah. You don't need him right now. If United leave it another year, you could find that the lie of the land is very different at these other clubs, and maybe Man United won't be these front runners that we are right now. It almost feels like a bit of a perfect storm in many ways. In terms of him as a football player, I mean, how much of him have you seen, and what kind of impact do you think he'll have on Man United in the Premier League?
Well, I think the first thing to say is it's not just even about the fact that his contract's running down. It's that if you've got an employee in any field who doesn't want to work for you, then you're unlikely to get the best out of them. You might, but you might not. I mean, there's also something, in my opinion, inherently immoral in forcing someone to work somewhere where they don't want to work. And even if they happen to be a footballer, i.e. doing a job that we'd all love to have, earning a shit ton of money like we'd all like to, it's still immoral to force someone to work somewhere where they don't want to work. I actually wouldn't run contracts in the way that football runs contracts. But anyway, that's a different argument. But in terms of Sancho the footballer, I also think that Dortmund have got quite a lot of good young players. I mean, I think that they think that Reina is probably better than Sancho. But as far as Sancho at United goes, I haven't seen loads and loads and loads of Sancho. But what I really like about him is that he has an ability to understand the game, and the way that he understands the game allows him to improvise, which makes him really hard to predict. I sometimes wonder if it makes him hard to play with as well. But then you look at how many goals and how many chances he creates, and it's clear that, and that was what I wondered for a bit. It's clear now that I was talking a load of bollocks, because I think that his play is so intelligent that it means that the players that play with him are able to predict what he's going to do, and the defenders who don't play with him and don't train with him every day are finding it harder to predict what he's going to do. And the thing for United is that if you look at them in the first instance, they have a front three. They have a really good front three, and even though they've only been together a couple of months, really, in a strange environment, in a strange post-lockdown environment, they have one of the best front threes in the world, I think. But you could see when it was coming to the end of lockdown that they were running on fumes, and they forced themselves over the line just about. But three good attackers isn't really enough. Liverpool have got by with it, but in general, it's not really enough. And you need two things. Number one, you need fresh players. Alex Ferguson kind of invented that when he had four strikers in 98, 99.
Yeah.
But it's actually even about a little bit more than that. I remember before United played the semi-final against Arsenal, they played the first game against Arsenal, it was a draw, and York and Cole played. And then in the semi replay, they played Sheringham and Solskjaer. And at the time, it looked like they were just kind of resting York and Cole, the preferred partnership. And and because they're in the middle of a semi-final against Juventus at the same time and pushing for a tight league. But Tony Adams wrote after that game that he was quite relaxed about facing Cole and York because he'd done it a few days before and knew that he could keep a clean sheet against them. But all of a sudden, he had two entirely different players, and that put him on the back foot mentally, thinking about how am I going to defend these players. And then a bit later on in the Fergie era, by the time Glazonomics was really starting to take control, Fergie couldn't afford to compete with City, say, for the likes of Touré, Silva and Aguero, and in general couldn't really afford to sign the best players. What he did instead was he got himself a load of centre forwards and a load of wingers. And they weren't elite level. Like, he still had Rooney and Van Persie who were, but the rest of them weren't quite elite level. But what it meant was that you just had numbers. So on your bench, you've got two centre forwards and two wingers pretty much every time. So it means that if you're struggling to break down a team or you need a goal, then you've got a lot of options on the bench. You've got a lot to choose from, but also you've got different players. So sometimes Fergie might have wanted Ashley Young, who would stick across towards the back post. And other times he might have wanted Ryan Giggs, who would thread a pass, or Park, whose movement was really good. And the more of these players you have, the more unpredictable you are. And the more you can find ways of posing different challenges for your opponents. But looking very specifically at Sancho, I mean, he'll play on the right most of the time, but he can also play on the left. And that versatility is important, because then you look at Marcus Rashford, who is mainly, he's going to be, it looks like playing as a left forward, a left attacker, whatever you want to call it, is his best position. But he can also play in the middle. Mason Greenwood is going to be a centre forward, but is really good playing on the right. And Anthony Martial is a centre forward now. So what you've got is you've got a lot of versatility. You've got really intelligent, quick, sharp players. And then you can start perming the ones that you select according to the game that you've got. And Sancho is United's first proper right winger, really, since Nani, and that is a long time, and that's been a vacancy. And they've now looks like they're gonna fill that vacancy. And when you play United, you're going to not know what front three you're going to face, and defenders aren't going to know who to prepare for. And the styles of play are very different. If the two main right wingers would be Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, if you're a left back, the mental preparation for facing those two players is very different, because they're going to try and do very different things. Sancho is going to often look to go on the outside, but Greenwood is going to be looking to come inside and get off a shot as fast as possible. And then if you swap one with the other after an hour against the left back who's knackered and spent 60 minutes chasing Sancho, to then have a player who's literally just trying to shift it to get a yard for a shot in the last half hour of the game, good luck.
I could not agree with you more in that. And we're seeing a lot of Man United fans already start to debate who misses out, who gets dropped. And I think a lot of people think, okay, in the first instance, it will probably be Mason Greenwood due to age and not wanting to rush him through. But the great thing about all four of those players is they can cover at least two positions, as you say, in that forward line. Rashford theoretically and Greenwood could almost cover three positions, really, and Martial as well, to be honest. And there is that fluidity there. And you look at what Chelsea are currently building with Frank Lampard, and although they need to attack and address the back end of their team, going forward, once they sign Kai Havertz, it's just insane, not only with the positions those players take up, but again, their versatility. We know that Timo Werner plays central, but likes to drift to the left. We know that Havertz plays central, but likes to drift to the right. You've got Ziyech that plays on the right, but likes to drift in centrally. You throw that in, it becomes a nightmare. As you say, that word unpredictability for defenders is so difficult. You then kind of couple that up with excellent ability, wonderful passing, great crossing of the ball. When we look at the Sancho situation, it's great news. And it's why, for me, I'm not really fussed how much we pay for him, if I'm being honest. If we look today that Nathan Ake has just agreed to join Chelsea, Chelsea are paying 180% of the valuation of the player. He's valued by KPMG and by Deloitte, respectively, around 20 to 21 million pounds. They're paying almost double his valuation. But it's about, if you see value in it, then go out there and do it. And for me, Jadon Sancho is valued at about 80, 90 million with those people. If we spend 110, 120, 130, I couldn't care less. Like, I look at, as long as we're not bankrupting Man United, I'd rather the money be spent on players than in the back pockets of the Glazers. That's always been my view.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think ultimately, if you start from a point at which, if you have a 50% hit rate on transfers, that's not bad. That's a pretty good rate. 50% of the players that a club buys are good, turn out to be good. But ultimately, any footballer that any club signs, if the transfer works out, then that player was worth whatever that club was lucky enough to pay for them.
Yeah.
You have a slight issue of opportunity cost, that if you spend a lot of money strengthening an area you don't really need to strengthen, and it's money that you can't spend on another area of the team, then you might talk about that. So if you look at Havertz and Chelsea, for example, I think what's happened there is Chelsea think that they've got a free run at Havertz this summer. To get a free run at a player of that quality is unusual.
Yes.
So they feel they've got to do the deal, and I understand that. But if it means that they're not spending money getting a proper goalkeeper and money getting a proper defence, then they might find that they run into trouble, and they'll score more goals next season and they'll win more games because of it, but they also might concede more goals. Whereas United, it's slightly different because they do need other players. I mean, if my priorities really would be a centre-back and a replacement for Matic, those would be the two most important areas. But United's defence is workable. Like, their defensive record is, I think, better than everyone in the league apart from Liverpool's. And the way they've gone about getting that has been slightly dicey at times, but it's nevertheless the case. And over the course of 38 games, if your defence is bollocks, you're going to see that the defence isn't good. You're going to see that. And they definitely need a replacement for Matic, someone with legs who can cover having two attacking midfield players like Pogba and Fernandes, and also who can pass the ball forward quickly, which Matic can't really do either.
Yeah.
But that area of the team is more or less working. We saw against Southampton and West Ham that when you press United, they struggle to get the ball out in a way that they don't otherwise. But I think that what they would look at it in a similar way to Chelsea, that if you have the opportunity to sign a player of Jadon Sancho's quality, then ultimately you just got to do it, because who knows when you'll get that opportunity again. And you're much more likely to say, I can't believe we didn't sign that player, rather than I can't believe we wasted that amount of money on that player. When you have a team that effectively a team functions. I haven't been beaten since February. And as I said, like, although they were running out of steam towards the end of the season, they haven't lost a league game since February, and that's because they have a team structure that is more or less working. Because also, although the attack's really good, it's not as though they've been winning games 3-2 and 5-4. They've been handing out kickings, and they've been winning games really comfortably. And so it's working. So then you would say, well, you can allow yourself that indulgence of getting an extra player, because you still kind of feel with United that if you stop Bruno Fernandes, then you stop United. They do still have Pogba, but if Bruno Fernandes is off his game, then more or less you're hoping someone else does something out of the ordinary, one of the three attackers. But if you stick Jadon Sancho in there, who's a creator, then you can't just focus on stopping Bruno Fernandes, because you've got to stop Jadon Sancho as well. And then where do you put all your players? It's like you're playing whack-a-mole at that point, because Sancho, as opposed to Greenwood, like Mason Greenwood is a finisher more. That's like, he's really good at he's good at running with the ball. He's quick. He can hold it up. He's got a great touch. But ultimately, at the moment, he's a finisher. But Sancho is a creator. And so if a team has two or three creators, then stopping them is much more difficult. And so when you really have a balanced team, then it's a problem. And I think that what United will probably do, what I hope United will do, what I hope they'll do, is I hope they'll buy Sancho, and I hope they'll add a centre-back and a midfield player. I think it's more likely that they'll buy Sancho and a centre-back, and then maybe if they can raise a bit more money with sales, we'll see one more player. But I don't think the Glazers are suddenly going to hand over a lot of money. Although I do think that Solskjaer should be saying, give me a shitload of money this summer, and I won't ask you for much next summer, rather than give me a bit now, but who knows how it'll work.
Absolutely. And I think what's interesting, the great thing that Ollie's got on his side is that primarily his signings have worked. I know that rival fans will want to throw stuff, but every signing that's come in has improved the area of the pitch they've been in. Probably the only one who kind of fizzled out really for me was probably Dan James. But was he really expected to be this big impact player at 15, 16 million pounds from the Championship? Probably not. So I think, if we could sign, again, I agree with you. If we could bring in, and I'm just throwing names out here, like an Upamecano at the back, Sancho on the right, and then someone like Van der Beek in the middle, that strength in depth that gives us is absolutely brilliant. But as you say, you've just got to go out there and get these jobs done and get these deals over the line as best as possible. And for me, if Man United can create a stacked front line, as a Man United fan, I'm trying to be impartial for a moment, it would work very, very well. I just want to correct myself. I think I said that Chelsea had just done a deal to sign Ake. That was wrong. It's Man City. I do apologize for getting that wrong. Listen, everyone who's tuning in, please do us a favor, hit the like button right about now. Just over 2,000 of you tuning in live to us, which is absolutely amazing. Make sure you check out Daniel Harris on Twitter. Check out his articles. I was actually going through your Twitter feed, some interesting articles actually I want to read later. Very vast sort of depth in terms of sports and stuff, all different bits and pieces I've seen up on here. So well worth checking out. I just retweeted your article on him, on Jadon Sancho as well. That's out on Cloud Sport Football as well. I just retweeted that out for people to go and check out. In terms of Manchester United, though, and Man City, Chelsea, they're all looking at doing big business. Do you expect other teams? I mean, we know that Liverpool have spoken about not wanting to spend money, and they're kind of a few Liverpool fans feel like they're pretending they're broke. Where do you see the land lying in terms of other teams doing business in this window?
It's hard to know because no one seems to have very much money, but it doesn't mean that there won't be a lot of deals done because it might just mean that they get players for less. So not as much money will change hands, but as many players will change hands. Perhaps we'll see more loans. I'm not sure. And then we don't even know if there's going to be a second wave of Corona, in which case that might affect the money that clubs are able to earn over the course of the season, over the course of next season, I mean. So in that case, you're likely to see fewer deals. I think that Liverpool ultimately, I would be surprised if their owners would be prepared to commit a lot of money because they're not particularly benevolent. Like they want to own a successful sports franchise, I believe we have to call it, but they're not doing it for the good of their health. They want to make money, and Liverpool ultimately in English football, the money is to be made in qualifying for the Champions League. So winning leagues, is not necessarily going to earn you as much money as you would have to speculate in order to win it. So if Liverpool were to go and spend £100 million on new players, Man City might still win the league.
Yes,
and the amount of money that Liverpool would have to invest in order to win the league, or to not even be certain of winning the league, wouldn't necessarily be commensurate with the money they would make from winning the league. Because they're still like Liverpool are going to finish in the top 4 next season. I think that Liverpool do have something to think about because it's not a young team. So they're better players, they're more important players, Mane, Van Dijk, Henderson, Salah, in their late 20s now. So at some point, that team is going to need refreshing, and finding the players that they found for the money that they found them is almost unprecedented, really, in football, where you are able to, obviously they spent a load of money getting Van Dijk and Alisson, but the money that they spent on Salah and Mane for as much success as they brought is unprecedented. Is probably a little bit much, but doesn't happen that often. It certainly doesn't happen often where a club nails as many consecutive signings as Liverpool did. So to do that again, I mean, they might be able to do it because I'm sure they're really good at what they do, but it seems unlikely. But they definitely will want to start refreshing that team in the next season or two, and they still don't have a lot of strength in depth up front. They've got loads of sort of interchangeable midfield players because what they're really looking for in a midfield player is mentality and legs. That is the thing that links Henderson, Wijnaldum, Milner, Keita. They don't have a lot of craft and they don't have a lot of guile, but what it means is that they try and run you off the pitch in midfield and either get the ball into Firmino and play off him, or get the ball wide to the fullbacks and play off them. So the special players in Liverpool's team are not in the middle of the pitch, but the players in front of them, the strikers, are players who have made a massive difference and who are not going to get any better now. So they do need to think about what they're going to do to replace them, but I'm not sure they'll want to do it this summer. So I think I'll probably expect maybe one serious buy from Liverpool perhaps, and then maybe a spiel or two. But I wouldn't expect them to do loads this summer, but they will have to do something significant next summer probably.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing sometimes when you're, what you said there about, you can spend a huge amount of money that's not guaranteed to win the league. When your return, you might actually argue with the pulling power that Liverpool might make more money coming second in the league than Man City make coming first, in the sense of more, in terms of your breakdown of although teams get a fairly even split of the TV money, some teams get shown on television more so they can make that money up. Like I've seen Man United come 6th and 7th before, but make more money than the team that have come 3rd because we get shown on TV more because we're a bigger draw, and Liverpool are in that space. And it may actually become even more difficult if things like financial fair play are relaxed or scrapped altogether. Although I've still got to read through it. It does appear Man City have, how do I put this? A lot of the actual damning evidence was just time barred, which tells you they were guilty. They just were caught too late. Which is, I haven't read it all to actually give, but that's an intro. I love that. Almost that, yeah, you're acting like you're innocent. You're not. They just caught you too late. You got away with it because of time barring. But that probably then backs up financial fair play more. They've just got to remove the time barring laws as an example. And I totally get you. I think Liverpool are doing the right thing by not spending too much money. They've still got the best team in the league as an example. And as you say, if there is another closing of the season, or maybe, we don't open up stadia for the whole of next year, Liverpool might find themselves in a very strong position financially in 12 months' time, as opposed to the Chelseas, Man Uniteds and Cities that are, for me, going hell for leather this summer trying to spend, as you say, because our incomes are not going to be damaged like the smaller clubs, and maybe, just maybe, you can pick players up 20, 30% cheaper. But Daniel, I do appreciate you coming on, having your say. I really do appreciate it. Let everyone know where they can find you on socials.
Just Twitter at Daniel Harris. And thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all, mate. We'll definitely have you on again soon, mate. Really good insight you've given us today. Really appreciate it, Daniel.
No, see you again. Bye, everyone.
Take care, mate. Thank you very, very much. Listen, everyone who's tuning in, please hit the like button and share button. I know there's a lot of salt in the comments here, clearly from viewers of other YouTube channels who are angry that we have just got Daniel Harris on, who is a writer for The Guardian, amongst other publications, who has gone public with his tweet, and will share the tweet with you again. It is his belief that Manchester United have agreed a fee of £109 million. That's going to be split in half, 50% paid up as a lump sum, the remainder paid via amortization over the course of the contract. What is being negotiated now is the structuring of that. So it might be a tapered effect. So we start off paying less at the beginning, and more at the beginning that tapers down. It might be we pay a little bit less at the start and increases over the course of time, as an example. So that is what Daniel Harris believes. He said he's only put this information out because he believes it to be true. And as I say, from my point of view, Daniel put out this tweet. We decided that we would go out there and have him on to have a chat, and he's come on and he's articulated himself well. We know that it's going to infuriate rivals of the football terrace that we've managed to get this call and this interview, but there we go. What we're going to do about it? Protesting coming from me, SFG out. Is that fake news? No, the information isn't fake news. This is a renowned journalist who works for The Guardian, amongst other publications, who yesterday said that United have agreed this deal, the financial side of the deal. He's come on and articulated it himself that he believes it to be true at this moment in time. And it's for you to digest. As I say, we're a YouTube channel. We're here to talk. And half the time we just discuss these transfers amongst ourselves. We reach out to all journalists about their stories. The vast majority don't come back to us. Daniel was very gracious and very kindly decided to come on and talk to us all and have his say as an example. I'd rather have Mike Ashley. Azza here is doing his best to try and trigger Liverpool fans. But we're getting close to 3,000 people tuning in. Please all hit that like button for us. It's so, so important to the channel for you to help get that done. I really do appreciate you guys that have all done it so far. Day Trippers own this channel now, Terry. There we go. They did very, very well last night. They did very, very well last night indeed. The boys that came on. Terry, when do you think the deal will be officially done? I still got a feeling that we're going to see something formally announced in the next week or so. We saw, as I said, from Monday, things heated up quickly. The real conversations began. Remember, United have only been in direct conversation with Dortmund now for a few days. There's only been outside kind of contact between the two clubs for about 2 to 3 weeks. Most deals don't get done rapidly. You look at the Ake deal. Nathan Ake, yes, is being done quickly in people's eyes, but that's because they're paying 86% over the valuation of the player. The player's valued at 20-odd million. They're paying 41 for him. If you want Man United to pay nearly double the price of players, then they can get trust me, if Man United bid 200 million for Sancho, it'd be done tomorrow. If they bid 100 million for Grealish, it'd be done tomorrow. If they bid 80 million for Van der Beek, it'd be done tomorrow. If you pay over the odds, almost double the valuation of a player, it gets done very, very quickly indeed. I'm loving here I'm not going to say watch out. I'm loving here all the viewers from a certain channel who are coming over here to give us stick just because we got an exclusive interview. I'm really sorry that it's upset you. The chat is going mad, but that's because it's full of haters. But we love it. Keep it coming, baby. And that's how you know. That's how you know. We've got another super chat here that says, which teams do you think will be contending for the title next season? I think, John, really good question. Primarily, mate, it's going to be Man City and Liverpool. I do think there's an outside chance of Chelsea and Man United if things gel. Terry, you should get Romano or Christian Forks on. I'd love to get those guys on. If I'm being honest, I think they're a little bit too big for a channel of our size, but we'll keep trying. We've reached out to both. We've emailed both. Big up the United Stand and other YouTubers that have gone and got those interviews. Massive achievement for them. They should be really, really proud of themselves. Hugely, but there we go. Exactly, bro. You know that. We know that. They know that, but it's all good. Nothing for us to worry about here. Why didn't United sign Ake? Maybe because he wanted to go City. That'll be it. Like there's nothing deep to it. It will just be that. It will simply and utterly be that. It will just be that. There's no more or less to it. There was no more or less to it. Oh, look at these comments, man. Oh, I love them. Absolutely popping off here. It says here, what's the latest on Sancho to Man United? So we'll just give you a brief update before we end this stream. By the way, nearly 3,000 people tuning in. Please hit the like and share button. However, according to Daniel Harris, Guardian sports writer, amongst other publications, has said that he has been informed that Man United have agreed to pay £60 million up front for Jadon Sancho and agreed to pay, euros, 60 million euros up front for Jadon Sancho and pay a further 60 million euros, which is the valuation of 120 million euros that Dortmund want over the course of the contract of the player. The finer details of this are being thrashed out. We already know via the likes of Fabrizio Romano that Man United and Jadon Sancho have agreed in principle the personal terms, contract lengths, salaries, image rights, shirt number, etc. This deal, in my opinion, this is my opinion as opposed to what Daniel was coming on and said, is very, very close to going through. He's very, very close to happening. But as ever, we do want your views. We do want your opinions when it comes to this. Sorry, I just read a comment and made me laugh. It's going off in the comment section. It really, really is. I love the attention Terry's haters are going to hate. Listen, it is what it is. Let them hate. It's like people that come on. I must get about 5 comments a week in this section going, Terry, this is why your channel doesn't grow. No, this time last year we were on like 102,000 subscribers. If we grew by 40,000 subscribers just per year, just alone, I'm a very happy man. Very happy man, Grant, at that rate. So it don't bother us. So thank you all for the support. That's why hitting the like button is so important, by the way. Another super chat here. It says, do you think Milinkovic-Savic could still make a move to Old Trafford or some other Premier League club? I read some rumors, but don't know if they're true. I'm not too sure if he'll go to Manchester United, if I'm being honest, because he is... Because of the position that he plays, really... If Paul Pogba was to leave, then I could see it. But until that point, not so much for me. Not so much for me at all. Listen, everybody who's tuned in, thank you very, very much as always. Please do me a big, big favor. Hit the like button. Please hit the share button. New intro coming very, very soon as well. I've got to sort it out with KJ and get that all done. I'll get it done this afternoon, bro. I know you're watching. But until then, take care, everybody. Goodbye. God bless. Hit that like button. Hit the share button. And we'll see you all soon.